Hi, welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. This afternoon we went on an umbrella giveaway. Sandman Steve decided that a little offshoot of his Sweet Dreams project, which he loves to finance, that's in which he pays for mattresses, and then he sends us out on our mattress giving missions, and we find people who we think would benefit from having a good night's sleep, and that's his mission. So we're very happy to help him with that. Well, he came up with another idea which has proved to be rewarding. It's a small gift. An umbrella costs maybe $2 or $3, and he sent enough to finance, I think, maybe 30 or more umbrellas. So we went out today and we bought a ton of umbrellas, and then we put them in the back of the truck and out we went to give away umbrellas. Well, we never know how things are gonna go when we decide to go and find somewhere new to give away. And we turned up, well, we were on our way to Tanghaligue, and we suddenly realized, well, wait a minute, there was a road there. Well, it was a poor excuse for a road, it was more a dirt track, but then we're used to that, aren't we? So we turned around, came back, did a U-turn, came back, and we turned up this narrow little road, and sure enough we found lots of different houses, we found families walking, and it's never a challenge to find people that are living on the brink of poverty and will welcome a simple act of kindness like being given an umbrella. You wouldn't think that anybody would be overjoyed at that, but this is the Philippines and people are most appreciative. Well, we'd given away some umbrellas, and then happened to notice, as we were getting back in the car, I noticed that there was a young man and an older man working with him a little distance from him, a few 2 or 3 4 yards away, and they were making what looked like pots, but I couldn't see any machinery, I couldn't see any tools to help them to do this. So I said to Beth, we should go down and look at that, and we walked down and we spoke to a young man who was called, I found out later his name was Razy, and Razy, not sure of the spelling there, I'd have to invent the spelling, but Razy was actually very good in English. He was obviously an intelligent, to a degree, unknown to us, an intelligent, educated young man in his very early 20s, around the 20 mark. Difficult to tell with Filipinos, right? So I've given up on trying to guess on that. But we talked to him, and I looked and I examined the pots that he was making. Now, what they were making is they were making pots which you would put, open-ended pots, circular pots. So we're looking at something which is a circle like this, and then that's about this high. So they're about a foot high, and it's a circle of clay, and then across the top, in what used to look like, remember, well, I don't want to remind you of the bad old days, but what an ashtray looked like. That was where 3 bars, so you would have 3 bars like that across the top. And that was the design that they had on these things, so that you could, and that was actually so that you could put a pot on them. So you built the fire underneath, and then it was for open fire cooking. Well, I went and examined the pots. Now, I always find that that sculpting in clay, wet clay, is really good. It's a great stress reliever, and I was amazed to find that unlike the other pottery that I went to see, this was very smooth. white clay, like an off-white clay. And I asked him, where do you get this clay from? And he said, right here. We dig it from the ground, right here. So later, minutes later, we looked actually into the hole where they were getting this clay, and you had the top earth where all of the roots and everything in, and you saw the different strata. And when it got down to about 3 feet, maybe 4 feet, no, 3 feet, the next strata was this clay, this kind of a blonde clay. And it was smooth right from the ground. It was smooth. It didn't have to be processed in any way. Now, when you get processed clay, you get some of these clays which are made for children, and it says completely harmless. Boy, I've tried some of those in the Philippines and come out in a rash on my arms just by handling the clay. So I quit on that and gave up on the other clay that we found that wasn't too far from this little pottery. This was like a little two-man pottery, and they were turning out a load of pots. Well, that boy said, as I said, he said that that's where they got that, and he showed me where they got it. And he showed me some that they dug up that was going to be used for their work. And it was smooth. Now, the thing about it being smooth is that you can do fine or fairly fine detail work. So you can do faces where expressions are crucial on the smallest little change in the clay. And so I said, could I buy some clay from you? I would love to buy some clay. Could I? He said, no, we'll give it to you. No. This is the incredible thing about Filipinos. They are incredibly generous people. These are people, they didn't have anything. They were struggling to have what perhaps people in the West would call the cottage industry. It's their backyard, and they're making up these things. And so we get talking, and he says, no, we'll give you some clay. No, I must buy it from you. This is your clay, and it's your material that you're working with. Now, he wouldn't hear of being paid for it. And then as we talked, I examined the pots that they were making that were still not fired, by the way. They were not fired, and their kiln as such was a huge hole in the ground. And if you follow this through and have a look at the video, you'll see all of this explained. But when I touched their pots, which were still unfired, were still soft, and it was smooth, which was what prompted me to say, please sell me some of this clay. All right, so he wouldn't do that. And finally I said, do you have any pots that are already fired? Because all of what we were seeing was soft clay, still unfired. And the older man said, yes, we do. And he led me off in another direction, and finally about 40 or 50 feet away, there's a pile of finished product. So I chose the smallest little pot, and I said that I'd already agreed that I would buy it. I said, why don't I buy one of your pots? How much? And he said, 40 pesos. The little tiny pot that I got was not 40 pesos, probably maybe 20 or even 25. And I chose this pot because it was tiny and would not be a big deduction on their earnings. So I then pressed 100 pesos into his hand with a great deal of difficulty. No, it's too much. It's too much. So much for all accusations and criticisms of Filipinos, which if you've watched any of my videos, you'll know that it really is a button with me, because I found, even though I know realistically that just as in any other nation, there are people out there in the Philippines who would kill you and kidnap you and do all kinds of stuff. And then there are the main part of the Filipino people, the Filipino nation, who are just incredible. Smiling in the face of adversity, smiling when they have so little, smiling when they are given something as little as an umbrella. Can you imagine that? An umbrella that cost not even $3. Something that is about 130, 140 pesos for a reasonable quality umbrella. So it just made me realize how lucky I am to be here, to be learning lessons about generosity, about kindness, about the willingness to give, just to give. So eventually he was a difficult bargainer, and we managed to strike an agreement where if I make something, he will fire it for me, and he's firing by next Wednesday. I doubt that I'll have anything ready by next Wednesday, we're just too busy. But they're firing on Wednesday, and if we don't make that firing, then the next one. And he said, please come again. So I took the smallest pot, which was about so big, not quite as big as my face, and that was the pot that I chose. And he said, well, that pot is for cooking fish in, the little tiny fish. I said, this is the pot that I would like. No, it's that 100 pesos is too much. Well, it argued back and forth. This is a man that was not easy to deal with. And finally we agreed, and he got 100 pesos for a pot that he thought was worth maybe 20 or 25, and he gave me some clay which was of great value to me. As I tried to explain to him, I can't get this clay, and I'm taking your clay. And I tried all of my arguments about why he should give it, and finally I won. Well, I was going to win, wasn't I? He put the bag full of clay into the truck for me, and then one particular point at which we were looking at the tiny pot that I decided that I would like, and we looked back, and the entire little community of those several houses were all gathered around the truck, and we'd already given away 6 or 7 or 8, I think, I didn't count, umbrellas. So there were lots of happy people there, and very shy young women, and arms folded little children. I said, why is everybody like this? They've all got their arms folded. And they all laughed. Very easy to make kids and people, it's easy to make them laugh. It's easy to make them smile. And it's always incredibly rewarding. Now, I am going to try, if there is anybody out there who has excess of the simple sculpting tools, you can get these things for just a few dollars in any of the places that do art, of which you are probably inundated with suppliers of art materials. They don't have any tools at all in this simple little cottage industry which supports a family. 2 families it looks like, and they don't have any of this. They don't have even the simple scrapers and the simple little tools like little wooden knives that they have. They don't have that. I didn't see any evidence of that. They don't even have a potter's wheel. Now, to be making circular things without even a potter's wheel. Now, a potter's wheel, I used to make up a potter's wheel just by having a Lazy Susan, which people use. People use Lazy Susans and they make them up into items for the table. You make up a Lazy Susan very easily, and a Lazy Susan is two spinning rings, like almost like two great washers, and they go around like that, about as big as a clock, and you can get some of them, excuse me, suddenly started hiccuping. You can get some of them are only 6 inches diameter, and you can get others which are 12 and 15 inches diameter. Well, it would be so much easier, and so I'm trying right now to see if I can get a potter's wheel, a simple spinning on the table potter's wheel, or 2 or 3 or whatever, and I will make sure that they get to those guys. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to take my little humble pot piece, not a pot but a little sculpture that I'll make, and I'll show you it being fired, and that will be a terrifically interesting thing. And look at the video, you will love that young man. So incredibly nice, so incredibly generous with one of his raw materials, because they get those raw materials from their own backyard, which is now getting a lot of holes in it. So it's kind of like a dilemma. They are chipping away at their own land in order to get the raw material to do their work. It's one of those things, isn't it, that you are never going to be up against in the West, I don't think. But anyway, I'd like to help Razy, and so the little sculpting tools, I have a couple of people, Kevin, I have Kevin Jordan. I'm going to lean on him because he's coming out very soon, and he's coming out here to the Philippines. So Kevin, if you're looking at this, I'm going to embarrass you in public, and can you bring either a couple of Lazy Susans that you can get quite easily in any place for very little, or maybe a simple potter's wheel from an art supply shop, and I'll take you when you come here to meet that man, that young man. And if you can get 1 or 2 of those little packets, if you go into an art supply shop, you will find little packs of sculpting tools which will almost be like solid gold to that young man, and may help him to make other products which will help to feed their family. Oh, Kevin, I'm relying on you. Compared to the cement mixer which you and Bukiko donated, this is a very simple thing that I'm giving you. Okay. Thanks for everything that you've done. Thanks to everyone who watches our videos to the end, because I'm known for my rambling on, and I know I don't speak loud enough. I'm sorry, I am what I am. Sounds like Popeye, doesn't it? I am what I am. I am what I am. Anyway, this is all from me. This is a foreigner in the Philippines, just relating an incident in our everyday life and how funny things can happen from just taking another turn that you don't normally go up. Thanks for watching. This is a foreigner in the Philippines. Bye for now.